Brother, are you all right?
No, I am not all right. I just shared a bottle of Kanar with Damar. That rhymes.
You're drunk.
Of course I'm drunk.
Oh, good evening and afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the next installment where we're doing a deep dive. And yes, we're going to go into the holodeck and poke around in the programming and try to figure out what is actually going on there. Is there more to it than what we've been led to believe? Or are we just entirely overthinking this connection? Who knows? But it all started with a meme. A meme that came across Twitter that I'm pretty sure most of us have seen by now. At least those of us who follow myself, Furball, Jay, as we tend to retweet these things. Is the classic 80s sitcom Cheers actually a holodeck program from Star Trek? When you look at the commonalities, you just might be convinced.
Yeah, this will be some interesting discussion because we'll have to have a lot of introspection and some assumptions to fulfill the goal here to decide. I say that at the end, let's make a decision. Everybody has to vote. Is Cheers a holodeck program based upon the discussions? Everybody put their nickel down.
You know what? We will have to see. Now, Google moderator team says you can't have Cheers in Star Trek. Oh,
I got at the hall for that.
They still have actual alcohol in the 24th century. It's not a huge supply, but there is still a supply of alcohol on board. Just ask Guinan. You just got to know your sources. It's like with any borderline and actual military organization, you got to know someone in supply if you really want to get the good stuff.
What was that? What was McCoy's line in, what was that, Star Trek 3? No,
2.
Star Trek 2.
2. He has a border runner.
Yeah, he has a border runner for the Romulan ale. Now, I only use it for medicinal purposes. What better medicinal purpose than for getting a birthday?
So, without further ado, let's go ahead and dive on in, and let's go ahead and start at the top.
So this is the premise, like Jared said, and you can see these 5 actors have been on both programs. And what we're going to do is we're going to discuss each and the roles they played on each to see if there are any internal conflicts that would prevent this from being a reality. So the first person we're going to talk about, Kirstie Alley. And Kirstie Alley on Cheers was Rebecca Howe, and in Star Trek was Lieutenant Junior Grade Saavik. In Cheers, she was on Cheers. Oh, God, no, I didn't have that up. I think she started season 5. Should have had this up. Because what we got to do, we have to compare. Are people here that shouldn't be here? Before we do this, the premise being that the entirety of the Cheers television program was a holodeck simulation. So that if you were in Star Trek, the Star Trek universe, during some time period where the holodeck was in existence, this was a program that you could walk into and participate in. And we need to make sure that there are no inconsistencies of, somebody from an era of Star Trek that didn't have holodecks that was on Cheers. If that's the case, then that would kind of bust this theory. And we'll go through individually. So, Rebecca Howe, season 6. She debuted on season 6. So in Cheers, she was not part of the first 5 seasons whatsoever. Now, in Star Trek, she was Lieutenant Saavik. Kirstie Alley was, and this is where we're going to have to make an assumption on this next one. We're going to have a little discussion. Lieutenant Saavik, the character, was part of 3 Star Trek movies. So the first thing we have to decide, is this Kirstie Alley, or is the actress playing Saavik immaterial?
I would say that the actress is immaterial because Kirstie Alley would have reprised the role if not for a salary dispute because of her growing popularity and demand and the results of the movie franchise. So,
and we'll discover in one of the other people that... Okay, you can get something, buddy. My little boy just came into the office. When we go into Kelsey Grammer, we're going to see that the character of Saavik was almost part of another part. So, Saavik, we don't know her exact birth date. She was born pre-holodeck. She was a cadet in 2256 or 85, and was on the Genesis planet as part of the Wrath of Khan and the Search for Spock in 2286. There is no recording of her death. So if you go based off of the average age of a Vulcan...
Yeah, typical Vulcan lifespan.
An older Lieutenant Saavik would or could have still been alive during the time of holodecks. So that means that a young Lieutenant Saavik would not have experienced the holodeck, but an older one could have. And the holodeck could have... So if she took part in this, and this was her as an older woman in her old folks' home trying to have fun day to day, it could also change her appearance within the program.
And some people may try to point out the whole mannerisms of the character and everything. And this is where I will actually have to throw it to Voyager, because there was the episodes where the Hirogen took over the ship and made it into one massive string of holodecks for training, and the way they were able to essentially rewrite the personalities of certain crew members to fit the characters that they were actually playing in the simulations.
Oh, I completely forgot about that.
Yeah. Remember when Seven was a lounge singer in occupied France?
Yep.
So you do have other outlier factors in the Trek universe that you would have to put into place here to make it more probable. But so far, the timeline fits. She was alive and probably serving, or facing retirement and moving on into when the holodecks were actually in wider use. Because keep in mind, Spock is older, and Spock survived until when? So even just going at a 200-year lifespan is still possibly shortchanging the character of Saavik.
Oh, yes. Yep. Yeah, and that was just a ballpark. It could have been longer. It could have been shorter. We honestly don't know. But there is nothing about her age or prospective age that would prevent her from living through times of holodecks. And then next, we will look at the interactions between the characters, because we got to make sure that nobody's interacting within timelines that they can't.
Yep.
So, in Cheers, Rebecca Howe did interact with Fraser Crane.
Yep.
Did interact with Lilith Crane. Could have interacted with the other 2 Star Trek characters. Both of those 2, which we'll go over in a little bit, those 2 episodes occurred before Rebecca was on Cheers. But that doesn't prevent the possibility.
Yeah, because we have to remember when you're looking at a show like Cheers, you're not seeing every day in the existence of the setting that is taking place. It's just taking the highlights out of a particular time frame. So the chances of those bottom two characters on Cheers having revisited but done nothing memorable while Rebecca Howe was there is possible.
Correct. Now, on the Star Trek side, she could have interacted with God, no, I can think of his name. Captain Bateson. No confirmation. And now here is our first issue, and we will deal with this when we get to Bebe. There is not a strong possibility, without making major assumptions, that she would have interacted with that character on Star Trek. There is a possibility, no confirmation, between her interaction with Captain Janeway and Data. Could have happened, nothing preventing it.
Yep, again, because of the long Vulcan life span and their propensity for lasting in Starfleet for the majority of it when they join, it is likely. Or it is at least possible.
Plausible. It is possible. There's nothing preventing it. So then the next character we'll move on to is Kelsey Grammer. On Cheers, he was Dr. Fraser Crane. And on Star Trek Next Generation, he was part of one episode from Season 5, Cause and Effect. Now, this episode, he is the captain of the USS Bozeman, which is actually a original series timeline. He would have been in the timeline of when Saavik was aboard the Enterprise, when Kirk was aboard the Enterprise, but the Bozeman experienced a temporal anomaly that brought it into the Next Generation timeline. So he clearly did experience, him and his crew, did experience a timeline where holodecks existed. Now, the character behind the captain there on the right, that was proposed to have been Saavik. But due to scheduling conflicts, they could not do it. So that would definitively have brought Saavik into this century.
That would have been a direct connection.
Yep. Now, the connections here, Dr. Fraser Crane was in almost the entirety of it, so he had interactions with Kirstie Alley, had interactions with his wife, could have, just like we said before, could have easily had interactions with the other Star Trek characters, nothing preventing it. Now, on the Star Trek side, could have experienced with Saavik in both time frames.
Yep.
But remember, their time together on Cheers, holodeck Cheers, would have to have happened in the future time. So even though they experienced time before holodecks, they had to have been physically together during a holodeck time. Again, we come up with the issue with Bebe. We'll discuss that next. And there is nothing preventing him from having any types of interactions with Captain Janeway or Data. Now, technically, he did kind of interact with Data through communications. They were on screen-ish together in that one episode.
Now, speaking of that one episode, after resolving the time loop that was going on, the Enterprise did escort the Bozeman to the nearest starbase. There would have been plenty of time and opportunity for Bateson to have interactions with not just Data, but the rest of the command crew at a minimum of the Enterprise as he's beginning the debriefing process of getting him up to speed about the time period that he and his crew are now inhabiting.
Yeah, I would say that right before they embarked for the escort to the space station, he would have come over to the Enterprise for a personal greeting with Captain Picard. Absolutely no question about it.
Yep.
All right, now we move on to our problem. How do you say her name, firstly?
BB Newirth.
Is it BB? Okay.
Yep.
BB Newirth had pretty much the entire run of Cheers, and she was on one single episode of Star Trek Next Generation. And on this episode, First contact, the Enterprise comes upon a planet that's about to go warp. So they are debating first contact protocol, and they send Riker down to the planet, disguised as one of the locals, to find out if first contact is feasible. BB was one of the doctor's nurses. I think she was a nurse. After Riker, you can see he got his butt whooped. She is one of the nurses tending to him. At the end of this episode, this culture declines first contact. And her character never left the planet. So here's where we have to make some decisions and assumptions for future time.
But this is where, again, we're not seeing the entirety of what takes place on air, because she was all about getting it on with an alien.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't think her decision to stay planet-bound would have remained as steadfast shortly thereafter the camera stopped rolling. I could see her actually being a bit more manipulative and disappearing for a time.
Yes, but remember, this culture at that time did not have the capabilities for interstellar travel. They were still on the cusp of that. So she may have become an advocate, but the general population did not know about aliens.
No, but she was one of the few. And Prime Directive protocols, you need to minimize the potential propagation of that information lest you artificially influence the society's progression forward. So you could have that as a cleanup measure afterwards. Potential. Again, we're talking extreme hypothesis to justify the inclusion of the character in Cheers, to where it would be maybe not necessarily probable, but plausible.
I would say that the greatest possibility for her character to have had that much time to experience the Cheers holodeck program would have been if, unbeknownst to us, because it has not been told in story form, their culture changing their mind and deciding to make first contact.
And that could have taken place as well.
Yep. And then maybe she became the ambassador to Starfleet because she was already aware of them, which would give her plenty of access to holodecks. So our first assumption would have to be
they changed their mind.
Things happening off camera.
Yeah.
Yep. Things happening off camera and they change their mind.
Icarus does have a point. There's always parallel universes. This is true, but we're trying to mitigate that bit, because whenever you do a parallel universe change, you end up with things like the mirror universe, where things are the same but markedly different.
Now, if we go on to the contradictions or the connections here, she obviously had direct connections with Rebecca, had direct connections with Dr. Crane, possible connections with the last two, as we've discussed earlier. But without making assumptions, not even Data has a direct connection.
Not on screen, no.
Correct, not on screen. If they change their minds, if she escaped somehow, then our timelines do match up for the possibility. Our next character, Captain Janeway, Katie Mulgrew. On Cheers, she was Janet Eldridge, and on Voyager, she was Captain Janeway. And I've got the... That's in the wrong spot. Let's do that. She was on 3 episodes of Cheers. Strange Bedfellows. She is running for an elected position and falls in love with Sam Beckett. Not Sam Beckett. What's his name? Damn it.
Well, Ted Danson's character.
Is his last name Beckett? I know it's Sam.
I don't
It
think
might
it's
be.
Give me
Beckett.
a second. I'll pull it up here.
For some reason, I'm thinking Beckett is from.
You're thinking of Becker, which is his
Yeah.
doctor show.
I'm thinking Quantum Leap.
Sam Malone.
Sam Malone,
Malone.
that's it. So she falls in love with Sam. There's a bunch of issues with her and Rebecca. No, it wouldn't have been Rebecca. This would have been Diane Keaton. Yeah, I'm wrong. Something like that.
Oh yeah, Diane
So
Keaton
she,
was still there.
yeah. So this would have been issues with Diane. Obviously, you know her entire timeline in the Star Trek universe. Her Star Trek time has no issues with access to holodecks. Obviously, we know that, and she was in these 3 episodes. So our contradictions and connections here. The only positive connection to another Star Trek character is Kelsey Grammer, and the only issue we run into once again is Bebe or BB. But those 2 characters didn't have direct connection either.
Yeah.
In Cheers universe. Then our last character is Brent Spiner, Data from Star Trek, and he was on 1 episode of Cheers, very briefly. Season 5, episode 7, part 2 of Never Love a Goalie. He was an accused murderer, and Diane was the foreman of his trial. And in the end, charges were dropped. Diane was all disappointed that they didn't get to go through the full trial. And we'd never seen this character up to this point. And then randomly, the guy that's accused of murder comes into the bar. And Diane has a short conversation with him. The only person that has direct interaction is Diane. And that is the only time that this character is in Cheers. And then we possibly see the beginnings of a second murder as him and his new girlfriend start screaming at each other because Diane kind of stirred the pot with those 2. And then they leave. It was literally like a 3.5-minute scene. So he had no direct connections in Cheers universe and no major issues in Star Trek other than the character played by BB.
Yep.
Now, one thing that I thought about with this one is that short of an experience in the Cheers universe, I could see Data doing that as a personal experimentation.
True.
He didn't go in depth. He didn't start a thing. Start something new. He just wanted to try it out and see what it was like. And that is the only time he is in that universe.
Yeah, because Data has been known to tinker with different aspects of exploring humanity through the holodecks.
Well, here's a thought that I've been having, and it is actually a offshoot of the last episode of Enterprise. But what's to say that the Cheers program isn't actually a program built by Riker based on his interaction with BB, and he just happens to think these others all coincide together quite well.
So would that mean that BB is the only artificial character?
Correct.
Would be an NPC, which, if you recall, Lilith was a
NPC.
very close to one, yes.
But
That
I mean,
is true.
that's the only way that it truly makes total sense to me, is that it's one person programmed it and was running it, and for all we know, that Ted Danson's character is actually Riker, and Riker plays as Ted Danson. And so when you're seeing the Cheers universe, you're watching Riker interact with everybody via Sam Malone.
I could see that.
That would be a very Riker thing to do.
That is an interesting theory.
Because you see him do it as the chef in Enterprise, where actually he started out as a different bridge officer, some low-level ensign,
And he
Mhm.
and
just
then moves
popped
on
around.
after. Yeah, and then when he talked to Troy, he then went to take on the chef.
Here's the only possible glitch to that. That would mean that Riker was getting it on with Lieutenant Savick.
That wouldn't put it past him.
Relationship wise, I mean, that wasn't just a hookup.
No, I know.
Again, if it's, especially if it's in that context of the holodeck with that visual, with what we actually see on screen, do you blame him?
True. But remember, Savick would have had to have had a makeover because she would have been older by then. Not necessarily, decrepit because she
How
was
hard
Vulcan.
would it be to find an image of her from
And
when
recreate.
she was younger?
Again, look at what Geordi did when trying to solve the Samaritan snare with the
Yep.
holodeck and Leah Brahms.
So Icarus says, but Janeway came after TNG. Correct. So if
Well, so a way to think of this, and when you look Star Trek wide, there's been a number of comments pointing to DS9 and asking about quarks. I would actually go one step further. Compare it to Vix. Vic Fontaine.
Yep.
Now, if you
Hey, Dora.
have a baseline program, if you have that baseline setup and your baseline characters that may or may not be crafted after real life people that are in Starfleet who may have a connection with the developer, and the developer is paying homage to those people, you could have 4 of those characters there with no question as computer programs based off of Data, Janeway, Bateson, and Savick. And then what we're actually getting is Riker's version of it, where he added in the 5th character.
Okay, so at the end of so at the end of Next Generation, Riker and Troy were not officially a thing yet, were they?
No.
So if we go with the question of the issue with Janeway came after. So that makes it interesting because that's still early on in the timeline.
Yeah, but hang on. So if we want to find a slot where that all works, keep in mind Janeway is the same rank as Riker, has been in Starfleet probably just about as long, if not only a little bit shorter. So again, Janeway knows the developer, gets immortalized in the program. Riker...
See, I'm trying to stick with that it's the actual person.
But so going with the actual person, when Riker and Troy become an actual legitimate thing again is between First Contact, a little bit of Insurrection, but before Nemesis. Now, by the time we get to Nemesis, Janeway is back in the Alpha Quadrant, and she's an admiral.
Yeah, when Janeway is on Trek, that could have been 5 years before. But it has to have. We have to assume that if it's actual Janeway,
Yep.
You have to assume that it's before Voyager disappeared.
That,
And
which could work.
It could have been any time before that she heard about this program. And does it live on the Enterprise, or is it integrated and you can walk into any holodeck and log on to it and interconnect?
Yeah, it could be one of those. It could be something, again, similar to Vix, where it is a more intelligent and adaptive. But yeah, you could make it essentially what Warcraft ended up being without the gameplay.
Yeah. Riker could have been running the main program on the Enterprise. Janeway heard about it. They knew each other because of the Academy days before Janeway went and disappeared. And she logged in. Hey, Catherine, here's the character you're playing. And they just kind of fooled around for a couple days before she decided, like, yeah, this was fun, but I need to move on. I got this new gig on the Voyager, and we're pushing off soon.
Or, well, no, it would actually be a little bit older than that, because when she gets command of Voyager and goes to leave, she's engaged and living with a guy. So
Oh yeah.
give it some time before that. Still,
Yep.
in universe, if Cheers is that MMORPG style setup, it would work.
Yeah, it would. Data could have logged in at any time.
Yep.
Just to try it out.
Had his little fun.
Yeah. BB would still have to be an NPC. And then now I can't think of his Star Trek name.
And then Bateson could still log on to it. Savick could have logged on in the beta phase during development and just kept the same character model.
Yeah. The only major assumption we have to make is the character of BB an NPC, or did she leave the planet?
Flip a coin, it works either way, in my view.
Other than that, there are no hard stops of this isn't possible. And I really like the idea that Riker is Sam.
Yeah. It with Riker's personality type and the way he has been shown to use the holodeck before, it fits. Oh, Super Russell James. Would be weird to have an old Q go watch the end of the last couple seasons of Voyager. Delancey comes back and age is starting to show. Although, did they have to give him the purple lipstick?
That was creepy.
He loved it.
Oh, I could see John DeLance actually playing it up and having fun with that. No doubt there. But the question is, was it his idea or was it
Makeup's idea?
The director of photography?
He also asked if we think that Janeway will make an appearance on Picard.
God, I hope not. So
what do you guys think then?
You know what? I think it is, but the best probability for it would be maybe not true holodeck, but more VR interactive of an MMORPG style setup. But could be cross-platformed into the holodecks as well.
You could run it as a standalone, or you could log into the community.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts, Jay?
I don't see any issues with it other than what we've discussed. I mean, I don't see any glaring holes in it. The idea of linking holodecks, though, like a network, that would be an interesting interaction, because we don't truly understand the concept of the subspace communication network. We don't know what kind of bandwidth would be put on sending holographic information back and forth between holodecks, and depending on the computer size that's running the holodeck, you could run into some glitching.
Well,
to say the least.
And that's where I'm thinking more lower tech VR headset interactive type.
You mean like the addicting game that Riker brings back from Raza?
Kinda, yeah. Yeah, something like that. mixed in, or with the cross-platform, like you would have that for your mobile, able to access the integrated servers, or you could do standalone in the full holodeck yourself on the ship, and then your larger interactive via the holodecks would be at the space stations.
So I do find one minor hitch.
Hmm.
So if we operate under the assumption that this is Riker's program and that BB is an NPC, she tried to bang him in that episode. Why did he make her into Lilith?
Keep in mind, she tried to bang him, but he said no.
But if it's somebody that tried to bang him, why wouldn't he have programmed her into the holodeck as a more interactive character for himself? Maybe the captain from the Bozeman asked him to write a character that he could interact with. Could be.
Yeah, that could work. And he could be like, well, this one tried to go after me, but I didn't want her. Here you go.
Let me tone her sexuality down to 0.
Wait, did they actually get it on in that episode? Or did they get interrupted?
I don't know. I didn't rewatch it.
You know what? I know. All right, go back to that. Which season was it? 5?
Let's see. It was season 4.
4.
First Contact.
Well, we'll be close to that at the pace we're going here in the next couple months on the Discord server on Thursday nights. Because we've started, apparently we've been going through 3 or 4 episodes now.
This role was actually written specifically for her.
Huh.
As part of a joke, because they found out that she was a Star Trek nerd, so they wrote this role for her.
Fascinating, and they didn't want to make it too much like Lilith.
Yeah. About the polar opposite.
Yes, that is right, Gregor. I'm remembering it now. Yeah, she pretty much blackmailed him into it. She was like, well, I'll help you, but you gotta help me first. I've never been with an alien before. Well, no shit. So, now, this does lead into a more grander and far-reaching aspect that has come up in discussion in the background associated with this as well. So, if Cheers is a holodeck program in that manner, what does that have to say about a possible connection to the show St. Elsewhere? Do we have Tommy to blame?
Quick poll of the audience. How many people are aware of the Tommy Westfall universe? 1 for yes, 2 for no.
And I've got the chart pulled up. I had a feeling this was going to come up.
You mean the massive web?
Oh, God, it's huge.
I even zoomed in on it so it's a little more presentable.
Okay, so Dora says no. Super James says no.
No.
Okay. So, in the 1980s, there was a TV show called St. Elsewhere. It was massively, massively popular. And there were a lot of celebrities that wanted to go onto it. The very final episode of St. Elsewhere, and the show was about a hospital. And so a hospital type drama back in the 80s. The very last episode of it, the last couple minutes, is a scene of the hospital from the outside with snow coming down. And then the camera pans back, and it turns out that you're actually looking at the hospital inside of a snow globe. And you see a little boy holding on to the snow globe. And then the boy's dad walks in, and the dad is one of the major character doctors from the TV show. And he is in grubby clothes like he just got out of the mine or something. Grandpa walks up behind him and asks Dad, like, what's he doing? It's like, I don't know. Tommy just sits there and stares at that snow globe all day. I'm not sure what's going on in his head. Making the indication that the entire series of St. Elsewhere was in Tommy Westfall's head. There are a lot of connections. There are other TV shows that spun off from St. Elsewhere directly. That means that those spin-offs are in Tommy's head. And then there are other product spin-offs that basically the belief or the view is that if a product appears on St. Elsewhere and it appears on another TV show, that means that that other TV show is also in Tommy Westfall's head. Now, Jay, if you want to, I don't know if you're presenting yet, if you want to pull up that
I'm
chart.
presenting now.
To show how extensive the Tommy Westfall universe really is.
And you can actually follow the path from St. Elsewhere to Cheers, to Frasier, to the John Larroquette Show, to Star Trek Next Generation, to Star Trek Voyager, Deep Space Nine, Enterprise, to Red Dwarf, Doctor Who, Torchwood, the Sarah Jane Adventures, Hitchhiker's Guide.
So for Cheers, Norm Patterson and Cliff Clavin, the characters, not just the same actor, appeared on St. Elsewhere.
Yep.
So that means that the entirety of Cheers is in Tommy's head.
Which would then lend credence to the Next Generation holodeck theory that we've got going on here with Voyager.
And it keeps spinning off. So like Norm and Cliff were on St. Elsewhere. That means Cheers is Tommy Westfall. The main characters from the TV show Wings were on Cheers. That makes Wings
Part of it.
a spin-off of the Tommy Westfall universe. There is a pack of cigarettes that everybody on the show smokes. And it's a fake pack of cigarettes they use. That way they don't have to pay the royalties for some real cigarette company. And that pack of cigarettes has been used in dozens of other TV shows, placing those other TV shows into the Tommy Westfall universe.
Oh, and same thing with the one thing that we mentioned before we went on air. The newspaper.
Yes, the San Francisco Register is in Next Generation. Would you say Data was seen reading it?
Yes.
And Journeyman is an American science fiction romantic series created, and it ran on NBC. There were issues of Journeyman, talk of Journeyman, in the San Francisco Register. And I think, oh God, what is the direct connection? It's a weird connection there.
Let's go ahead. Well, apparently X-Files would be a part of it due to product placement, which you have a direct link from St. Elsewhere to
Homicide, Life on the Street.
into X-Files. There, the layout of this does show just how interconnected all of these shows end up being. And what's interesting is the real world explanation can really be boiled down to one thing: money. Most of these connections are product placements or or actor representations or both, where the studios, again, didn't want to pay royalties to an actual company. So they essentially have a stock no-name bin for certain types of products in certain areas. And St. Elsewhere took place where?
I believe Chicago, if I remember. No, Boston, wasn't it?
I think it's Boston. Not
Give me just a second
positive.
here. I got too many windows open. Not tabs, actual windows.
And then each window has how many tabs?
Half a dozen or so. Boston. It's a Boston teaching hospital.
So and this is where it gets really interesting, that you would then have a San Francisco newspaper be included. So it really goes to show that, there is actually a real world postulate out there that does tie in with all of this. With all these shows being part of what could be called the Tommy Westphall universe, what if we're all just portions of someone's mental aberration somewhere? Are we actually real, or are we figments of some other being's imagination somewhere beyond our comprehension?
I'd like to more think that we're part of a program, because then we could erase the last 4 months.
I think there's more than that.
Somebody's playing Jumanji.
Yes. Someone is playing Jumanji somewhere, and they really need to hurry the F up and finish the game. That way it can all go back to normal, and the only people who would remember are the people playing the game. Oh, wait, did I just give a plausible explanation for why the Mandela effect is a thing? Fuck! Really gotta stop doing that. What do you guys in the chat out there think? Do you think that these connections are all a legitimate thing, or are we just being too nerdy with it?
I love how nerdy it is, because then you can create your own nerdiness with something like this.
Well, and the nice thing is there's something called evidence and actual research and actual connections. It's almost like if we really wanted to, we could pull a page out of the It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia show as well. Although I refuse to use that much string. Just saying right now.
Well, that's why we have the handy dandy little graphic, and we can expand upon it. It just might take several spreadsheets.
What's the strangest show you can think of that may or may not be part of the Tommy Westphall universe?
Wait, strange that it is or isn't, or
strange
or just strange in general?
Which one do you think would be the weirdest? Like Firefly. Is Firefly part of the Tommy Westphall universe?
Universe within the universe.
It is linked on there, I can tell you that.
Okay, so what's the connections? How does it go?
Cheers, Frasier, The John Larroquette Show, Angel, Battlestar Galactica, Firefly.
Yep. The Firefly class ship has been spotted in the pilot episode of Battlestar Galactica. It doesn't walk it all the way back from there, though. So then Battlestar Galactica.
It's an Angel.
Oh, this one has A-Team. A Cylon from the series appeared on the A-Team. From the A-Team. Oh, see, now then it just goes back and forth to Battlestar Galactica. There's got to be another connection. I might be on a shitty website. What was the connection after that one?
It goes from Battlestar Galactica to Angel, from Angel to the John Larroquette Show, down to Frasier, down to Cheers, down to St. Elsewhere.
Angel, Tommy Westphall.
Okay, so we know from St. Elsewhere we have we have the two characters that are in Cheers. From Cheers, you have Frasier, who has his own show. But from Frasier to the John Larroquette show, what's the connection there?
I don't know.
Let's see here.
Drew Carey is on there? Jeez.
Oh, and there's multiple connections. So I'm reading this off of Angel, and it's hard to like, this one doesn't have like a direct line. So Wolfram and Hart's clients include Yoyodyne and Wayland Yutani. Yoyodyne was first introduced as an alien-run company in the movie Buckaroo Banzai and was referenced on the John Larroquette Show and Star Trek Next Generation. Wayland Yutani also made weapons used in the Battle of Serenity and Firefly, and a Wayland Yutani ship from the film Aliens could be seen in the wreckage in the Red Dwarf.
Yeah, because they've got quite a bit here.
Now, what if we just say that everything is the Tommy Westphal universe at this point? And how accurate would that be?
It would be more accurate than trying to parse out what's not.
Okay, let's see if I can. Of course, you're not going to let me save it. There we go.
Oh, the X-Files would have a huge segment like that.
Let's see.
And then you have the Law and Order spin-off universe on top of it.
Yeah, no, it still has the Larroquette to Angel to Firefly. But there are multiple ways back through here.
So Angel connects directly to Aliens through Wayland Yutani, which also brings in Firefly because their company logo is clearly seen on the heads-up display. So Serenity, the Serenity, which opens up in Australia. The Serenity, which opened in Australia yesterday in the US today, is also connected.
Okay, so here's an interesting one. Somehow get over to Diagnosis Murder and then through what to Touched by an Angel?
Promised Land.
Oh, yeah.
You got Matlock that ties into Miami Vice and Quincy.
Mm-hmm.
Young and the Restless. You can't even get the soap operas out of here.
Wow. No, and this, a lot of work has gone into this, and that's just amazing when you actually look at it. And again, well, now here's a question: how much of this interlacing was planned versus accidental?
I'm gonna say most of it is accidental until you get to some of the newer shows like X-Files and stuff, where it starts to be, hey, we've been doing this for a while, where we have all these hints.
So let's run with it.
We can trace them back to here. And when they closed off the series, I wouldn't be surprised if they're actually trying to make it tie into this theory or hypothesis.
It's just, we will definitely have to get some links to this. To
a Law and Order universe.
Yep. Which is really easy because there have been direct crossovers between the core series, but what else is attached to it? Can we
Arrow, Flash, DC Legends of Tomorrow, Hawaii Five-0, Castle, The Cosby Show, Unforgettable, Arrested Development, Luther, Blue Bloods, The Law and Harry McGraw, Murder, She Wrote, Magnum PI, Quantum Leap, the original Hawaii Five-0.
Huh.
Like some of these do make sense, because obviously you got all the Law and Orders.
Yep.
Okay. New York Undercover makes sense. Chicago PD makes sense. So does Chicago Fire
And then
Med.
Chicago Med as an offshoot of both of those. Yep.
Yep. Deadline, Conviction. I'm trying to figure this one out.
From Law and Order to Arrow.
That one's got to be a good one. It's going to be something super simple.
Yeah.
You're talking about the Tommy Gronwald universe?
Yes.
Does Tommy know about that?
Where is he? Well, then again, it is kind of late where he is now. I think I saw a pack of Morleys in either Supergirl or Arrow. That could be it. It could be a product thing or a company thing.
Yeah, it's got to be something like that, but it directly connects Arrow to Law and Order, so it can't be through Supergirl because that would have been another level.
Yeah, and even then, is Supergirl even on there? No.
Although you could loosely tie her into any one of these two right here for sure.
Well, just it being part of the DCEU makes it connected. Huh.
Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul, Walking Dead.
That is a connection that I found interesting that hadn't really been explored on screen. Breaking Bad to The Walking Dead.
Well, including the X-Files, it kind of makes sense at this point. Because the X-Files is the paranormal.
Yep.
Breaking Bad, is the dealing with, cooking up drugs and stuff. Could have been one bad batch that got out and started the whole plague for the zombie apocalypse.
God damn you, Walter White.
Oh, Icarus,
Okay, so-
I know Arrow has crossovers with all of them. What I'm talking, or what I'm trying to figure out is the Law and Order connection
To the DCU. Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I'm on season 2 of the Arrow right now. I'm rewatching it.
Well, again, cigarette product placement, Morley's seems to be a common thread.
I finally found a really good walkthrough for one of them, and it doesn't stop halfway. So how is Doctor Who connected to St. Elsewhere?
Okay, hold on.
So,
all right,
pull it up here.
Go for it.
Start at Tommy.
All right, start Tommy.
So Dr. Westfall and 2 other doctors visited Sam Malone's bar in Cheers.
Okay.
Cheers introduced Frasier Crane of Frasier.
Yep.
John Hemingway from John Larroquette Show once called into Frasier's show.
Okay, that's that connection.
Yeah, and then the John Larroquette Show once mentioned Yoyodyne, a manufacturing client and law firm, Wolfram and Hart. Wolfram and Hart and other clients, Whale and Yutani, that made weapons and display screens for the Firefly.
Yep.
Okay, so this should be a direct connection here then.
Yeah.
But from
Instead
here
of
we
through
actually,
Angel.
so there's that one. This one wasn't really needed. So it goes Yoyodyne, a Whale and Yutani ship has been seen on Red Dwarf. So you can go from John Larroquette to Red Dwarf.
Actually, it should go Firefly then to Red Dwarf.
Both. You have
split.
You have a major convergence point with that reference with multiple branch offs. That's the thing.
Yeah.
And then a Whale and Yutani ship is seen in the BBC series Red Dwarf, which also depicts a Doctor's TARDIS. So somewhere in Red Dwarf is a TARDIS. Red Dwarf has images of Yoyodyne ships, not Whale and Yutani ships. Whale and Yutani ships are mentioned alongside of Wolfram and Hart, which is another firm. Wolfram and Hart was mentioned on John Larroquette. John Larroquette called into Frasier. Frasier came from Cheers. Cheers had 2 doctors walk in the door one day, and those doctors were from St.
St.
Elsewhere.
Elsewhere, which took place in Boston.
In Tommy's head.
No. So the cheers to St. Elsewhere, not just the characters, they took place in the same city, which also took place inside Tommy's head.
So that's how Battlestar. Okay, that's how Battlestar Galactica got us, because Firefly was seen at the beginning of Battlestar Galactica.
You can't even get out of the Stargate universe either.
Oh, wow.
Branching off from The Office to Las Vegas.
I'm sorry, I didn't realize I would start this.
Holy crap. Again, I'm telling
We
you.
still have another hour to go through this.
Well, we don't have to go that far into it, because again, we're not going to pull out the string and thread to start really tying this all together.
Virtual string and thread.
I'm still seeing the images from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia in my head with this, and it's just getting worse.
So what's the Terminator connection?
Well, before
2000 GT.
Ooh.
before that, I want to call out Icarus's comment, because he does have a point, and Karen Gillan is in the MCU. So you even have a connection to the MCU.
Yeah.
Is the person, or is Dana Scully?
No, Karen Gillan is Nebula.
Oh, sorry, never mind. Never mind. Yeah. Okay.
Which then you end up, you could even, please tell me the Harry Potter universe is on there too, because you have a connection, at least by actor, from Doctor Who straight to Harry Potter because of David Tennant.
Yeah, no. But you got Power Rangers.
Okay,
I'm sure there's a way we could find Harry Potter to be in there. Has to be.
Oh yeah. I mean, you could expand upon this.
You could make this a permanent hobby, and let it take over all of your other. What's that big one in the middle? Go back up.
X-Files.
And how is X-Files connected?
Morley's. The cigarettes.
Okay.
At least. At the least.
Oh, you even have like Teen Nick shows on here too. Holy crap.
That's kind of crazy.
MASH.
Well, wait. How many
is on there?
Yeah, MASH is direct connection to St. Elsewhere.
Yep, because the two of the doctors claim to be associates.
Yeah. So here's a question: how many shows are direct offshoots or direct connections to the X-Files?
I don't know. I've never really looked into that.
No. So right here on screen, let's go ahead and start reading them off.
Oh shit.
Okay, where do you want to start?
You know what? Start right there. That's a good pin one on an IC chip. So just count around.
All right, so you got Veronica Mars. And if you go off to the next one, it's Moonlight.
Direct connection, first steps only.
Okay. Then you have Millennium, Fringe,
Okay.
Space Above and Beyond,
Okay.
Lone Gunman, Bones.
Don't judge, Mark.
He's just jealous he didn't think of doing this first.
So you got Bones.
Haven,
Okay.
Without a Trace, 2.5 Men.
Oh, okay. We gotta find that connection.
I'm on it.
All right, keep going.
Nash Bridges. So Chuck Norris is obviously in everything.
Yeah.
Prison Break. That 70s Show. Special Unit 2. Killer Instinct. Burn Notice. Californication. Justified. Oh, they got it on here twice, that 70s Show. Everybody Hates Chris. Oh, John Cryer, the actor.
Yeah, but they're not just going actor connections on this, or else there would be so much more. They're doing some
It's
sort of in-universe connection.
Supernatural.
Okay,
You got it?
yeah, I got it. I claim tenuous on this one.
Okay.
In one episode, uh, Charlie Sheen and his housekeeper go to somebody's house, knock on the door, and they look like hillbillies. And the hillbilly says, "You ain't cops, are you?" And the housekeeper looks back and says, "Yeah, he's Mulder, I'm Scully." Is that a reference to a TV show, or does that mean they're insane universe?
That's tenuous. I couldn't see why
Yeah.
you'd say that. Because it could go either way.
But with the Tommy Westfall bit, it could very well be that X-Files is a TV show in the Two and a Half Men universe, which is why they know the character names and they use
Oh yeah,
it as
because
a joke.
if X Files for Tommy Westfall, if X Files exists in his head only, and another series references it, it has to also be in his head because nobody else knows about X Files other than Tommy. So I can see that for Tommy. Yeah.
Dora's going after Mark there.
Oh, so true.
All right, so we left off with Supernatural, which makes a good sense there. Got Warehouse 13, also another good one.
No.
Ooh.
CSI, Cold Case, Criminal Minds, Beverly Hills 90210, Breaking Bad.
What's that connection?
X Files, Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
Then you have The Strain, The United States of Terra, Up All Night, Sordid Lives, Saving Grace, Strange Luck, The Americans, Kingdom, Judging Amy, American Horror Story Murder House, Party of Five, Huff, and Malcolm in the Middle, Picket Fence, and then obviously Homicide Life on the Streets.
Yeah.
/ Saint Elsewhere.
Okay, so there's a bunch of connections.
Okay.
So before creating Breaking Bad, Vince Gilligan regularly wrote episodes for the X Files. There are a number of small references in Breaking Bad, and there are a number of cast members who have appeared on both series. So season 1, the cigarette brand smoked by Emilio and then thrown into the RV is Morley's. On the title episode, Cancer Man is also reference to cigarette smoking. Is also a reference to the cigarette smoking man.
Yeah.
Mike and Horalt's surname was used in the original episode. That's a minor character, some minor stuff. The time shown on the clock in Gail's apartment in season 4 is 10:13. The number 10:13 is frequently used in X-Files as a reference to the creator's birthday. In the episode Unruh, written by Gilligan, the killer's camper van is the same used in Breaking Bad for cooking meth.
Ooh.
Season 5, somebody uses the same bank as Mulder. A van company used by Patrick Kirby to rent a van for Walter White is also used in 4 episodes of The X-Files. So small connections, no direct links, but small minor connections.
But still enough, like just like that connection with the Winnebago. I would actually say that's more than a minor one, because they could play it off as that was that character's Winnebago in X-Files, and then through the roundabout process of transferring vehicle ownership, made its way out to Walter.
So it wasn't the Winnebago itself, it was a rental van. Yeah,
Could
so
have
they
moved
use
enough
the
people
same.
around to get out to there.
Yeah. Still could be a stronger direct connection in that way. Huh.
I'm still trying to figure out the X-Files and Party of Five. It's got to be Morley's. Because those, life lesson dramas.
Oh, yeah, there's going to be a kid smoking episode in that at least once.
It's prop. So in the X Files, Milagro, a scene in a graveyard, features the scene a grave for Salinger written on it. This is the name of the gravestone used in Party of Five.
Ah. So location prop setting.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
But again, with it being in the Tommy Westphall universe. Okay, what are you tracing through now?
So, you got St. Elsewhere, the Bob Newhart Show, Newhart, Coach, Drew Carey, the Hewleys, the Parkers, Moesha, Clueless, Sabrina the Teenage Witch, Boy Meets Girl, or Boy Meets World, Step by Step, Family Matters, Perfect Strangers, and I know that connection quite well.
Yeah.
Happy Days, Mork and Mindy.
Really? You're looking it up now, aren't you?
No, I was looking up something else. I wanted
mean-
Rick. I wanted Rick and Morty to be part of it, but I can't find one.
Give it time. I'm sure the creators are working their way to do it.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, no. It's the creators have already laid the foundation and the framework for it. They just haven't done it on screen yet. Because what's the whole thing about Rick and Morty? All the different universes, all the different versions of the Ricks.
Yeah.
Yep.
What if, here's a thought. What if Tommy Westphall is actually a Rick?
Oh.
Ooh. That's what it needs to be. He needs to go pop into some other universe, realize that he's in his childhood room holding onto a snow globe, rocking back and forth, and go, "Oh, I don't like this one." And leave.
That,
Well, you get married with children in there too.
and that's the thing. I could see that being the type of connection that that Rick and Morty would do, or not even have it be part of an episode, have it be part of the next season's intro and title screens. Because how many times how much of that material have been like, wait a minute, what episode was that? Oh, you fuckers didn't even put it in an episode.
Yeah, I'm still waiting to get access to Hulu.
Of all the series, the streaming things, why don't you have Hulu?
Because I can't afford it right now.
Oh, speaking of Rick and Morty, the season continues tomorrow night.
Get it? Oh, yes, it does, doesn't it?
Yep, they've done their mid-season hiatus. Season 4 is continuing tomorrow night at 11:30 Eastern, if I remember right.
Oh, might have to watch the first 5 episodes tonight after the kids go to bed. Get ready for tomorrow.
I would take a look at it. I think they just might end up doing a marathon leading up to the new one.
I can't watch that during the day though with my kids.
Oh no, it would be after dinner. It would start after they went to bed.
Yeah, I think that's a perfect. Tonight might be another hot tub night, so maybe it's going to be a Rick and Morty in the hot tub night.
And I think we all have to say it now. Wubba dubba lubba.
Wubba lubba dub dub! That's my new thing, Morty. That's what I've been saying.
Now we just need someone who can do a good impersonation of Birdman.
Oh God, what does wubba lub dub mean?
What he's really saying, Morty, is I'm in great pain and need some help.
Yeah, yeah. And Magda just pointed that out. Are you in great pain? Rick and Morty were in The Simpsons. Nemo, Nimoy and
I
Patrick
know
Stewart were in
I know Nimoy and Stewart were, and I know Patrick Stewart is also voiced Bullock for
American Dad.
McFarlane on American Dad. Yeah, but Rick and Morty and The
Oh.
Simpsons.
Simpsons crash into the couch, or he crashes into the.
Huh.
Here, in the side chat.
Yep.
Rick and Morty, all new season premiere.
With as many TV and movie references that are in Rick and Morty, if Rick and Morty gets sucked in, it's going to be crazy.
Oh, yeah, the number of connections that you can make from there end up being endless.
Mm-hmm. Oh, he kills the Simpsons.
Nice.
He crashes his ship into the living room. And if you can find anyone anywhere eating Pringles now, that makes that show part of the Tommy Westphall universe, if you connect Rick and Morty.
True, because you have the Super Bowl commercial.
My 7-year-old boy really wants to watch it because he's seen the commercial for Pringles. Like, no, boy. You're
no,
no.
not yet.
No.
I just saw an interesting one on the sheet here. TNG to Webster.
Oh, there's a direct linkage there.
Oh yeah.
You know she steps out here and eat right there. You've seen her do it.
When Worf met Webster.
No, there was actually a Webster episode where they linked up with the Trek universe, the TNG universe.
The lost episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation. This real crossover between Star Trek: The Next Generation and the show Webster, called Web Trek.
Yep.
Interesting.
Okay, let's see.
Yeah, Webster beams on board of the Enterprise.
Yeah.
And then starts dancing around in front of the captain's chair.
I'm watching the Simpsons gag and wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So the Simpsons are part of the Rick and Morty greater universe. Nice.
Is Simpsons Tommy Westphall?
I haven't seen it yet, but I wouldn't put it past it. Because the Addams Family is there.
And here's a comment from the main website. There are cartoons we'd like to include, namely The Simpsons, but as you see, cartoons are sparingly are a spiraling mess.
So very true.
I think if you actually included all the cartoons that can interconnect with each other into this, every show ever made and that will ever be made will be connected to the Tommy Westphall universe.
Yeah.
Again, Boltzmann brain. We're all just a figment of a mind somewhere possibly disembodied from its existence and just making up shit as it goes.
So you mean there is a creator? Does that mean V'ger is real?
Shh. The cast of TNG were in a Family Guy episode. Yes, all because
Yeah.
Stewie just had to make it happen.
Isn't Will Wheaton in there as Wesley?
Did they
I
get
don't remember that
Wheaton?
episode.
Oh, you don't remember the convention episode where Stewie got the entire bridge crew of TNG together? I forget the reason behind it, but he did, and ended up wanting to go and spend time with them. And one of the things that they did was go through a drive-through for food. And oh,
I believe he tells him to shut up too.
yes, he does.
Oh,
Well, I'm gonna dip out sometime soon. I can smell my dinner out in the living or the kitchen.
Oh, same here, and that's where we could easily spend way too much time going even deeper on this. But maybe we'll do a part 2 down the road after we uncover more. But in the meantime, I think it's safe to say we're all just a part of the Tommy Westfall universe. You might as well get used to it now.
Just hope Tommy doesn't shake the snow globe.
Yes, not all dogs go to heaven, and there is Will Wheaton. Do you need some Cool Whip?
Wheaton. Wheaton.
Cool Whip?
Wheaton.
Oh, that.
it was Viva Fry I was watching today. He was putting an emphasis on a WH sound. And he pulled the Stewie bit.
So did someone say "cool it down, Stewie"?
No.
Why are you saying it like that? You're saying it weird. But with that, go ahead and enjoy it. I'm sure there's plenty of other good stuff and things going on the rest of the YouTube verse after this, and just remember, Rick and Morty returns late tonight. I'll probably be staying up late to watch it. No, or is it tomorrow night?
You said tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night, yeah. Sunday night, yeah. So, with that, any parting words?
No, thank you for having the show again. It's been fun.
Ring my bell to be a special subscriber.
You know, hang on. You two hang around for a second. We got something to discuss. Till then, catch everyone later. Enjoy.